Good morning, traders. It is Tuesday, November the 5th. Taking a look at the charts, we'll start off with the VIX here. The VIX, kind of the inverse trend of the SP 500. You can see we got this blue line down at the bottom. This is a level where we tend to see the stock market put in a top. And more or less, the VIX is a fear index. And when there isn't much fear in the market, it drifts down to this around this $12 mark. That's typically when we see the stock market start to put in a top and start to roll over. Now it is down at that level. It can stay down at this level for a couple weeks before a top gets put in. You can see it lingers down here for 2 weeks or more at times. So we're just down to this level now. The market could continue to slowly grind higher, trade sideways until things just kind of dissipate. This buying momentum kind of stalls out and then reverses. You can see how the VIX explodes to the upside from this level eventually. And the key is trying not to get too early into a VIX trade, because if you got it long the VIX down over here, and it takes 2.5 weeks to really put in a bottom, the VIX ETFs will just continue to free fall and lose a lot of value, even though the VIX doesn't fall any further. And then when it rallies back, it's a tough trade. A lot like leveraged natural gas plays, you really have to have your timing on. I am interested in getting into a long VIX for a pop here, but I'm going to be real picky. I'd rather miss it than try and get into one of these trades a little too early. Because they devalue very quickly. But there's a lot of upside potential, very quick 30-40% returns in these plays if they can have a significant pop and the timing is on. Now let's look at the SP 500. If we go to the SP 500 futures, let's just zoom into the chart here. Overall, we're stretching up here to some new highs in the market. There's no fear, and this is usually the point here. We're going to see it probably put in some type of volatility top. We'll probably start to see it trade sideways with some long intraday wicks where you see big sell-off, big rallies. We'll start to see things trade sideways, or we can start to see it pull back and maybe put in a bit of a double top and start to stall out. Overall, we're going to be looking for the market to eventually give us a reverse signal. The last time this market rolled over, I think we got a short signal here, and we played the downward move. The other one, we had a signal over here, and we had the drop. We don't pick the tops. That's not, it's really tough to pick tops. We're waiting for the momentum to reverse and give us a momentum signal to the downside. So this could continue to chop around and put in some type of top. And eventually, as it starts to break down, we would be looking to get short for the flush out in the price. And that's what we're looking for versus potentially trying to pick a top in the market. And so that's where we are in terms of the equities. And of course, everyone's piling into equities. They're not fearful, which means it's going to put pressure on the safe havens. Money's flowing out of bonds today, down 0.6%. Let's take a look at bonds. Money is flowing out of bonds because people are not afraid. They don't want to be in boring bonds. If we look over at metals, we're actually seeing metals pull back today. Metals is down 0.9%, silver down 1%. So we're seeing money flow out of the safe havens and into the equities market. And this is kind of a sign that the market is just, there's no fear in the market. And hopefully we'll see a very strong reversal here in the markets very soon. We'll see metals, bonds start to take off. The equities start to become unstable. And there's a few different trade setups, potentially a short the index or to get long the VIX. We'll see how things shake out and where we get a signal, if we get a signal to trade them. Let's take a look over at utilities. Utilities have been flagging here in this big kind of bull flag. Big down day yesterday in utilities. Again, this is seen as a safe haven as well. Everyone's moving out of the safe havens, and when everyone's moving out, that's when we want to be moving in. So everyone is super bullish in the market, and we're kind of picking up what they're throwing down and expecting it to increase in value here. We're going to be under pressure probably for a little while. We'll see when it reverses, hopefully sooner than later. I don't like being underwater in any trade, but overall, this is what we want. When people are dumping stuff, we want to pick it up, and then when they're all buying it, we want to sell into their hands. Let's take a look over at energies. Natural gas up 2.25% again this morning. Another big pop in natural gas, and we're going to see our UGAS continue to move higher. We'll probably ratchet our stop up maybe today, we'll see, but there is a lot of potential for this to really take off We've got this cold weather spell coming through all of more or less North America, and I would love to see one of these explosive moves like we saw back here in 2018, where something just goes parabolic, goes explosive to the upside. We do only have a quarter of a position left. Yesterday we closed out. We sold a quarter of our remaining position, so we sold half of it at a nice gain. A quarter yesterday, and we still own a quarter for potentially some type of explosive pop to the upside. If you did sell out yesterday, that's not a big deal. For all we know, the second quarter, the last quarter, we could get out at a lower price. But overall, it's a great trade, and we're going to be posting an explainer guide on how to read the application where we post our trades. We'll do an explainer video on how to read the app with our positions and our trade alerts, just so that everyone is clear. It's fairly straightforward, but obviously you need to understand it clearly for it to make a lot of sense. But overall, we are looking for a continued move in natural gas for just a runner to see how high this can go, and we'll just trail our stop up as price runs higher. Now we are right into a major resistance zone. Let's just pull in here. You can see here we are right into this area, which is going to act as a significant resistance zone for nat gas. So if price is going to reverse, this will definitely be the spot. I talked about this, I think, yesterday morning, that yesterday's gap up felt a lot like this type of play where it comes right into the first major resistance area. So this is kind of the same type of play where we have a hiccup and then a gap into resistance. Here we had the hiccup, we got the gap. More or less, we're pushing into the next major resistance. We could see the market roll over. If it can break this, then we're going to go probably parabolic and take off above 3, mid 3, maybe even 4 on natural gas. So we're letting this last one be the runner to see how far it can go and if we can milk it for a bunch more profit. Looking over at crude oil, up 0.75% today. It is working its way back up to this blue resistance line. It's also the 200-day moving average. It happens to be through a lot of noise here. There's a lot of little pivot highs and through the middle of ranges and pivot lows through here, another level. So it is getting to a pretty significant resistance zone in terms of the pattern. If you look at the pattern, this is finally starting to look a lot more bearish to me. You've got this big downward move. We've got this great big channeling bear flag. We're at the 200-day. We're at resistance, this level right through here. Obviously, we've got a whole bunch of points here where it has acted as resistance or support. So this could be a level here where we start to see it pull back a bit. But again, it's channeling in this range here. So it could just move back to the lower end. And until it breaks out of this range, it's not going to have any real clear setup. At this point, to me, it looks like it could pull back or show some weakness for a little bit. Last but not least, take a look at Bitcoin. This is the daily chart. Overall, it had a big pop there about a week and a half ago. It's been flagging out. It is stuck under resistance. Let me just zoom in a little bit more here. It's stuck under resistance. We're right under this, right into this area here, this 10,000 mark, this kind of consolidation area. It found support and then broke it, and now it's up underneath that as resistance. Now we are seeing today, we saw a huge bout of selling. Looks like somebody unloaded a whack of Bitcoin, dropped the price down to below 8,400 and then rallied all the way back up to 9,400. So $1,000 drop for somebody just wanting to get out of Bitcoin. Overall, got bought back right back up. And if we look at the chart here, this is showing some signs of potential upside here. If we throw a Fibonacci extension, we go from this high to this low. Well, you could argue where you want to put this low. Do we go with that spike low or do we go here? I'd be more inclined to go, I usually go actually the more conservative one, which would be this spike low. So there is potential for it to run all the way back up to 10,000 mark, maybe 11,000 mark to the upside. This actually coincides with this previous high. And it also coincides with this previous high here. I know a lot of people would go from the closing price gives you a much higher target, but I find it's way better to be more conservative and get out on the way up than to watch something just miss your target and then crash and you never got out of any of it. So I always tend to go for the more conservative look. So overall, this looks like if I knew Bitcoin wasn't quite so manipulated with just a handful of big owners pushing big shares around, this is a nice reversal style candle, and it points to there should be some upside movement going forward here. But I'm not too excited about Bitcoin. It's at major resistance, and it can have these huge $1,000 drops in a blink of an eye and then bought back up. Really easy to get your stops run. There is an ETF for trading this. It is the GBTC. You can see up here the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. And you can see yesterday it pushed higher. I find this doesn't quite move the exact same. I find this ETF or fund moves more like the sentiment. So everyone's really bullish on Bitcoin. It actually pushed this fund way out of whack from what Bitcoin is actually doing. I find it, if everyone is really bullish, it usually means that Bitcoin kind of does the opposite. So it's kind of a contrarian almost play. It'll tell you when everyone's piling in, they're all seeing this bull flag and people are piling into this trust, pushing it way overvalued. And it's easy to overpay for Bitcoin. Even if Bitcoin rallied today, we could see this fund fall to get back in line with where it should be valued. So it's a tough play to trade. Anyways, that's it for this morning. Talk to you in a little bit. Bye-bye.